Step 6, 2 steps to go. Step 7, we've talked about this a little bit, but is staffing, right? And sometimes when we talk about staffing, if you've got bad morale and you want to change it, sometimes the best solution for morale problems is to let all the unhappy people go, right? Just let them go. Because surely if a lot of people are unhappy, it's probably all them. It probably has nothing to do with the organization or management or anything like that, obviously. Because if I'm happy, everyone else should be happy, right? And the last thing we want to do as an administrator is to accept or take the time to investigate concerns brought to us by facility teams or anybody under in the chain of command, and assume that there might be some truth in the concerns that they bring, because it's much better to paint a rosy picture whether or not it's real, right? Sometimes having our head in the sand just means that our head is always comfortable. I think that's how that goes. So staffing and working through staffing with our facility team, we understand that hand in hand with communication, with expectations, and with data collection gives us the roadmap, if you will, on how to use staffing to hinder our team. First one, since we're not collecting data, and we're not using it, and we're certainly not sharing it even if we do not really consider how many people that we need. So in that benchmarking survey and report that we did, we found that maintenance individuals self-reporting said about 50% of the time they were doing non-maintenance tasks, about 40% of the time for custodial teams. So even if you've got the right number of people, if you're not adequately managing them, then you're short-staffed anyway, because they're not doing the things that they need to do. But if we're not collecting data and we're not actually paying attention to it and we're not being realistic, we don't have to consider how many people. And so that means that the staff that's there, we can have that unrealistic expectation of why aren't you getting this done? There should be enough of you. It doesn't take me that long to fix stuff in my house, even though we don't have 15,000 people going through our house every week, regardless, right? It doesn't take me that long, so it shouldn't take you that long. Also, when you consider staffing, let's consider that we can make sure to assume things would always get done if the facility team worked harder. Never assume that it's because they're understaffed or they weren't given enough time or the information wasn't there. Always assume that they just need to work harder. They can perform the work of 7 people with only 3 if they would just work harder. They wouldn't make mistakes if they worked harder. Not if we staffed it better, they'd perform better, or if we provided the information, everything would be correct. Again, let's just say, hey, you need to work harder. And then that leads us to kind of the third point. If something doesn't go as you assume it should, hold the facility team responsible for it. Hold them responsible for not doing what they didn't know they needed to do, right? That's a great way to hinder them, because they know when something bad happens, even if you didn't tell them, and I know if I ask, I'm not going to get the information, but then we get in trouble anyway. So it creates this negative feedback loop, and that's a great way to hinder the team, to bring them down and to make them think, if I ever ask, I'm going to get in trouble, and if I don't do it, I'm going to get in trouble. So what does that mean? No matter what you do, you're going to get in trouble, right? And so that makes for a great way to hinder the team and a fun environment for them to work in. And then finally with that, and it kind of goes hand in hand again, communication, all this kind of builds on each other. Make sure to stifle the facility team voice. Assume any grievances that are based on emotions. Assume that the grievances are based on emotions, not on an emotional response to actual conditions. And what do I mean by that? So if I just assume you're upset because you want to be upset, I don't have to consider that you're upset because another staff member yelled at you inappropriately for something that wasn't your fault. And I would then have to correct that staff member and then make them apologize to the facility team. And that's a whole lot of work. And I don't want to do that. It's much better for me to say, you know what, just don't take it so personally. They didn't mean it that way. I love that phrase, right? That's a great way to just knock somebody down. They didn't mean it that way. Don't take it so personally. So you got to have a thick skin to do this job. So again, just stifle that voice. Get it to the point where they don't want to bring anything up, anything that's bothering them, because they know you're gonna sweep it under the rug and kind of ignore it. And that is, again, part of the way that we can use staffing and how we treat our staff as a way to stifle and to cause our facility team to not perform that well.